And we passed that. I'll introduce myself. I think most of you know me reasonably well, but as a quick refresher, I've actually got now 21 years professional experience. I currently work as a senior software engineer at WEC and I've worked in many other industries. I've got kind of my own little side consulting business for that same 21 years. And the president of this user group as well as Dynamics 365, and very temporarily the Power Apps and Flow until I can convince other people to step in and fill those shoes in. I'd love to connect with you guys online, so please feel free to reach out to me. Social networks of preference would be Twitter and LinkedIn. And this is the one brag I have is I've been on Stack Overflow forever, and so I'm in the top 2% of users. Not super active there anymore, but as a fellow dev, maybe that means something, right? So today I'm going to walk you guys through our website. I've shown this off a couple times in a couple different ways, but we're focusing on search. And one of the reasons I wanted to show it is because so much of our website is driven by search. So a lot of you have your devices there. You're more than welcome to go to WEC.org and follow along and click on stuff and see things happen, or see different things happen because of the permissions that I may have. But I want to start with a video. Anybody here an IT crowd fan? Yes, Eric. You will laugh with me. There is a laugh track to this video, so it will help you know when to laugh. Just so you're aware. That's helpful. If you haven't watched the IT crowd, I believe it's still on Netflix. And it's a British comedy series. There's only like 25-ish episodes, maybe. It's the binge it. I mean, we're talking about at night, those guys. But well worth it. It's really fun. And currently I have to do something to turn on my sound. Hold on. Let's see if this works. We're going to do this a different way. Turn off this. Yes, turn off the microphone. We'll do this here. Hold on.
There, left is mute.
There's the mute.
Down the bottom.
Oh, right there. Settings. No apps. Will that mute it?
Should if you turn it off in the apps. But down the left-hand corner, there's a mute button in the corner of your screen. Is that on the other screen?
Oh, over there. Unmute. That's it. That will mute the whole
that's the problem.
audio. But what I'm thinking is, I will just stop sharing and go to YouTube for a moment. Stop sharing. We're going to find out if West Tech blocks YouTube.
They don't.
Eric's like, as a matter of fact, we're good. Oh, wait. I probably need to share this screen now. You guys see it, but the webinar does not see it. We gotta.
You need to share it through Greg or have. Because we see the Epson supposedly, but not Greg's screen.
Is person the host? Host. Yes.
Are you seeing that now?
Well,
I'm sure.
Share.
Oh, sorry. I'm in the meeting. Will be posted.
There we go.
I love it.
All right. Let's see if the sound works now. Cross your fingers, everyone. What do you think? True or false? Anybody bold enough to try it?
I hope it's not that easy.
I don't think it's that easy. So now I gotta figure out how to share this back to myself here. All right, there we go. Now resume. So I want to talk a little bit about.
We lost the video again.
We gotta send this back over here. So everyone can see. There we go. So our key elements at WAC to our, using our SharePoint site for search success. Starting up in the red, our taxonomy, our approach to tagging, organizing your data. Various settings we customize with search. Retention policy, this one is huge. Because bad data clutters your search results, and it only gets worse from there, right? Like think about somebody searching for something, only to have it be misleading. Like what if they found an old policy that no longer applies for some sort of a benefit or something like that? That could be really bad. So retention policies are important, automatically clean up stuff. And then display templates, how we actually customize, how we present that information. So I'm going to walk through those 4 things, as well as I'm going to walk through our site, showing how we use those, kind of dig down into the details of how we implemented it, as well as, we're on SharePoint 2013 on premises. I'll talk a little bit about SharePoint SPFX. We're doing the same thing in a modern way. And if you have questions along the way, please stop me. I'd love to make this more interactive. I've been talking all day already, so my voice may very well get out if you guys don't help me out. So let's ask questions, okay? So you guys remember the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding? I think this is one of the greatest sleeper hits of all time. So if you haven't seen it, you're shaking your head no, go see it. If you're smiling and shaking your head yes, go watch it again. But we have the dad here, Gus, who had a lot of quirks. One of them was Windex cures anything and everything. And so, he would spray it on whatever was happening. In this scene, this is actually from the second one, he's got a problem with his hair and kind of stretches out his stretchy pants and shoots his head. That's pretty great. But there's a scene in there where he's driving the kids to school and he says, give me a word, any word, and I will tell you how it derives from the Greek language, right? So taxonomy actually does derive from the Greek language. So maybe it's funny or appropriate or not, but anyway, those 2 words basically saying, hey, this is how we arrange our stuff. This is our method for arranging our data, right? So when we're talking about taxonomy, it's talking very specifically about that. How do we arrange what we're looking at? And another great example, trilobites. I found out recently that there is a genus of trilobites that has one sole member, and it's named Han Solo. It's like really funny for Star Wars fans. Angie, why are you shaking your head? Is that really that bad of a joke? This is legit science. So yeah, okay, facepalm, that's a much better reaction. I agree, total facepalm. When you are establishing a taxonomy, if you build it, such that you end up with one document in it, that's probably not the right approach either. Maybe it is, there could be cases, but this really doesn't help you organize anything other than organize one thing, right? It doesn't help you with like the collection of stuff. And so, Han Solo, it's also kind of a goofy trilobite. Can anyone tell me which is the head? Typical trilobites, they have like kind of the shield up there and all these like leggy things. It's a little easier, right? This one, honestly, I don't know. I looked at Wikipedia, I read about it. I can't tell you from the picture. But the whole point is, this is not helpful, people. It's funny to name it Han Solo and that there's only one, Solo joke, but it's not helpful. Okay? So what is helpful? In SharePoint, we've been given a bunch of things that are helpful for us to help organize the data, right? It all really starts with our content types. Our content types are collections of site columns, or basically, you can point it at your managed metadata / term store, which are really just columns as well. And that helps you organize your data. Enterprise keywords, once again, are really just a special case of your managed metadata or your term store. So really you have content types, you have site columns that you can use to tag and organize your data. You know your file name is a site column. The title of your document is a site column. So the hierarchy, the way that this works is, I love telling people that everything inside of SharePoint is a list item. Every way of organizing those list items are lists. Libraries are just special cases of lists. Folders are just special cases of items. Documents are just special cases of items. And it follows this hierarchy. The way it works is item really just declares one property, title. That kind of inherits down through, maybe you have something that doesn't need a title, you can actually optionally hide that. But, there's this hierarchy of how things are built out, okay? Folders, I love this one, okay? Folders are the new word. That was said like so many years ago. Sorry if you find that offensive. I'll let you fill in what word you want to choose there. For me, it's folder. Start with that, folder, right? Reasons to avoid using them, limiting, maintenance, nesting folders. There's a lot of problems you'll encounter if you use folders for document management purposes. There's a number of us have done this long enough that folders really are like the bank. They hide information. They don't help surface information. They really work against you. One of the things that in my life was like transformational around this was I remember when Gmail was first coming out, it was really cool. You had to get an invite to be part of it. Mark shaking his head, yeah. You were cool through back then?
All my friends were at Georgia Tech.
Yeah, okay.
Invites and
So the bump went off that.
yeah.
I'm not ashamed. I bought one off eBay for $100. So it was that important to me that, be wearing those cool shoes and be that kid, invite. But, I got to be king of the nerds in my little circle for a day until I'm inviting all my friends. But the thing that I loved about it is Gmail doesn't have folders, does it? You ever notice that? Outlook, you can create folders. Gmail, you cannot create folders. There are no folders in Gmail. What do you do instead? Labels or searches, right? They have other ways for you to categorize your email. You can even, more recently, put stars on it. Like, hey, this is important, right? There's different ways that you can tag and label your data that really helps you find it later. Is Gmail worse because it doesn't have folders? Do you miss them? Anybody abuse labels and treat them like folders? Yeah? So the analogy I love to use is file cabinets. If I have a document and I want to put it like in a file cabinet, it can only exist in one physical place, right? My emails are not physical. Why on earth should I have that physical limitation of only putting it in one place? When I apply multiple labels to it, that means I can search by different things and surface it, and bind it, and organize it in different ways that allow me to better interact with my data, right? So why would you want to use folders? There are reasons, right? I list 3 of them out there. There may be more. Permissions. It's a great way to manage permissions. And by great, I'm going to put an asterisk on there and say better. Better than managing permissions individually on any one item. Certainly better to use a folder for that. Certainly better is to use maybe the library itself. Certainly better is the site itself. The more broad you can make those permission changes, the better off you're going to be in the long term. It's not always possible, and so you have reasons or cases where you may need to deviate from that. But just as kind of a self-check. Whenever you're saying, hey, I need to set permissions on some specific item, can you set it higher? Does that make sense? Is it possible to do it? Okay. There may be technical limits. If you guys are ever trying to open a SharePoint folder as a library, and there's thousands and thousands of items on there, Explorer kind of tends to choke up a little bit. Maybe your OneDrive sync is a little slower or something. There may be reasons to break it up. I'd argue in those cases, you're probably better off splitting it into a separate library, or maybe a different site. So I would say think about those sorts of things rather than just saying, oh, okay, a folder's going to solve all my problems. No, a folder's just going to hide your problems. Maybe if you're lucky, it will surface your problems. But performance is another reason. If you're trying to display a lot of list items or something, folders help mask that and say, oh, I'm only going to show whatever's in this folder. It's a good way to kind of hide that. Questions on folders? Anybody now feel dirty for using folders? It's okay, this is a support group.
Greg, this is Pablo.
Yeah, hey Pablo.
Hey, Yeah, question on folders. I know on Teams, they're using folders to manage channels, and that's kind of an interesting approach.
Yeah. So, you know, Teams, I think the sole reason they did that was organizational. So, you know, how on earth would you, you know, have one document library? I mean, I guess they could create 4 libraries with email or something. You know, there would be other ways of doing it. But certainly they chose saying, hey, we're going to create folders with the channel name inside the same team. It's a good point.
Right. So anyway.
You proved me wrong, Pablo. You're presenting next month.
My big mouth.
And then Teams does it brings in files. The files just shows all files, no folders from all those
Right.
groups. So they kind of test
It can go both ways. Good discussion. So search settings. I love this sign. It's the road to everywhere. For me, literally, search is the road to everywhere. Rarely do I say, oh, I remember that this was on this page or, you know, whatever. Maybe I will remember that, but it's so much easier to just type in something to search and hope and pray your result is there at the top, right? If you're ever scrolling to page number 2, you're probably never going to find what you're looking for, right? So, you know, search is the road to everywhere. One of the great things about SharePoint Search is besides searching SharePoint itself, which includes like the My Sites and the Team Sites and other things, it can also search file shares and other websites. So if you wanted to have search index everything, maybe your company stores data in different places, SharePoint can do that. So it's something to be aware of. We don't do that on our extranet because everything is inside of SharePoint. We do it for our intranet, but it does actually index a file share. Part of that configuration, promoted search results. This is getting back to that. You hope and pray your result is on that first page. Well, guess what? Your search administrators can make sure that the important things are surfaced. So, for example, we're coming up on the end of the year. I guarantee you, most places are going to have some form of open enrollment going on. It's not a bad idea on your intranets to add promoted search results for keywords like benefits, enrollment, open enrollment, whatever makes sense for you. Maybe look at what people are searching for and say, you know what, we need to have some promoted results that are forced right to the top that say, hey, yes, these are kind of those authoritative things that you're most interested in when you're looking for these. And there's a whole bunch of different ways you can adjust your queries. I've got them listed here on the screen. We use the exact matches almost exclusively. The others are really, like the advanced is really just a variation of that. The common result source basically is I'm going to narrow my results by another result source. In talking to people very early, do they use more than one result source? Looking around the room, I'm probably getting a lot of blank stares, like what the heck is a result source? Basically, it's the way SharePoint Index categorizes your information. So people will almost always use just the local SharePoint system results or the people results. So be aware that they're there, but just know most people use them in very normal, specific ways. Duplicate trimming, this is one of those settings that, oh my gosh, I cannot tell you how much it has driven me nuts over the years. It tries to be helpful, and documents that are similar tries to, eliminate from the result set, so you're only seeing, hopefully more relevant information. And in all fairness, like if there are 10 copies of some document on our SharePoint site, I may not care if I'm only consuming the data, which one I'm looking at, as long as they are truly identical. The problem is duplicate trimming, it's not based 100% on identical. It's pretty aggressive in its default settings. And so we tried for a long time to say, hey, we're just going to leave the default settings as they are, and we're going to try to encourage our users to do something to make their documents more unique, because if they are that close to another document in the first place, then maybe that's not a document we really need to have. Yeah, we lost that. So, yeah. So basically, we ended up turning it off pretty much everywhere. There's not really a global setting. You have to do that everywhere that you search, unfortunately. So it's just part of how you query the system. But be aware that by default it's on, and according to Greg, by default it's annoying. Crawl and manage properties. This is something that will often trip people up. SharePoint's really handy, whereas it's crawling your information and adding it to a search index. It will automatically crawl all of your other properties, but only under certain conditions will it actually promote them to what are called managed properties, which can actually be queried against, which can actually be displayed later. The idea is if you're using content types and site columns, they will automatically get promoted to managed properties, and search generally just works pretty well. The bad thing about that is they get kind of funky names. So for example, if you have a managed property, or if you have a property on your document that's a choice, like maybe it's your department or something, it'll say like department OWSCHS, some weird stuff that you don't want people typing that into their search queries and filter by. If you have the refiners up on the left, then you have to go rename that thing so it looks normal to people. So be aware that managed properties are what really enable search to work. And I will walk through this. I will show you some examples. But remember, if you're using site columns, they get automatically mapped. Okay? Good reason to use site columns. Retention policies, I talked a little bit about this. But we need some humor to understand why. Gilbert going to the records retention department, and this is old. Like I look at the date on this comic, I'm like, wow, it's weird, and he has hair. So 1995 is when this was out. And he says, hey, these valuable documents should be stored for 5 years, which is awesome, right? How often does somebody declare something a record, but they don't know like how long it should be kept around? Gilbert's doing it here, and then you see Wally walk past the bookshelf that he has where he would be filing records and straight into the garbage because nobody ever asks, right? Probably because nobody can ever find them. So what do? Retention policies. On our site, our public facing site, like.org, everything is considered a courtesy copy. This kind of annoys people in the energy utility space because they're like, well, I remember this meeting I went to back in the 90s. I heard this today, I kid you not. That they went to a meeting and somebody gave a presentation on something and, where is this document? And I'm like,
From the 90s?
yeah, from the 90s. Thank you, it really was funny. And I'm just like,
Laugh at their face.
whoa. So, we probably do have a copy of it somewhere on our intranet or a file share or something. Here's the LucidWorks guys, welcome. But, we're certainly not going to keep that on our site forever because it really does introduce clutter. Like, it makes it really hard to then find the recent, relevant, up-to-date information. So it's really important. We actually enabled these, and there was all sorts of screaming and wailing and gnashing of teeth and, lions and tigers and bears and my. And we turned it on. People were initially not happy. Guess how many times we've had a complaint and something disappeared? Anybody? We got to vote for 0. Anybody want to join the bold man saying 0? Got a lot of hands. Anybody want to go to 1? I'll go 1. We'll go 1. 1, 2. We have 1. Jerry, I don't know what you win. You win something. So I don't know what, but yeah, we've had 1 complaint. And luckily, we configured our retention policy to send it to the recycle bin. And it turns out that thing, the reason it was such a big deal is it was not actually a courtesy copy, it was our only copy. And, so being able to recover that data was very handy. But yeah, where do you enable retention policies? Once again, bigger, broader is better. So you can do it on either the content type itself or directly on a listing library. But either way, it helps you kind of clean up the junk. That really only works for things that are really well defined. So once again, it takes, if there's a payoff in stepping back for maybe just provisioning a list and saying, hey, let me do a little bit of information architecture work. Let me think about how people might use this. Let me think about how we might want to do retention or something else on it and design it in such a way that you can take advantage of these things. The pro tip, go big or go home. If you can at all, do it on the content type. It's much better because you don't know where that's necessarily going to be used, but if people are using it, hey, if this is, your company's official record content type, your company is going to want management of that data done in a very specific way. Display templates, these are a little bit old school, like I mentioned, SPFX has kind of replaced them, but we'll still look at them today. Security trimming, for those of you that got there earlier, I'm like, yeah, this is the one slide I didn't finish, so I'm just gonna leave the empty slide up there so you have content. But the great thing about security trimming is SharePoint honors those permissions. So the indexer will index everything that it can, but if it can't, or it will honor those permissions when it's returning results back. The funny thing is, when I was searching for a graphic on this slide, I actually saw a tweet from LucidWorks from a couple of years ago saying, here's how you configure our Fusion product to honor SharePoint permissions and security trimming. And I'm like, well, hey, that is just too cool for today. So, little shout out to
Serendipitous, right?
Serendipitous, working with it, SPFX and display templates. You know, I've been with the SharePoint family actively since the 2007 product. And, you know, each year or each release, they kind of had banner features. For me, 2013 was really all about search. There were other benefits that came with it, but search to me just trumped them all. And it's when they finally got search mostly right. You know, in 2010, you had two different search options. If you got the fast enterprise search, life was better. It resembled more of what 2013 was, but it's still really hard to surface the results. Like, they didn't have that part of the equation all the way worked out. I do like this comment that just dump everything in a box. You know, it's just like SharePoint. That's how people use it. They just dump everything out there, right? But you know, there's a question there: is it properly tagged, right? And the whole idea is, I want to be able to search for my content. I want to be able to find it. I want to be able to display it in some reasonable way, right? So how do we do that? Display templates or SPFX is the answer. You know, as soon as I finish up the slides, I'll show you an example of those. One last note is, one of the things that's great is the display templates in 2013 and 2016. They are awfully kind of SharePoint-y, like if Microsoft is taking the first steps to separate being a platform developer from a regular web developer. And so it's not too foreign if you know JavaScript or HTML, but it's still a little opaque. With SPFX, 100% JavaScript, actually TypeScript is the preference, web development. If you were a web developer using React or any of the modern fabulous frameworks, SPFX, you will feel right at home. You don't need to know anything about it. Display templates, there's 6 things here I just wanted to call out where you can find them. There's the master page gallery, there's a display templates folder. Pro tip, you don't actually have to store them in the display templates folder. They have their own specific content type and way of organizing, so you can just maybe create a folder, whether it's inside of display templates or not, that are the custom ones you create. You also don't modify the out-of-the-box ones. Create copies of them if you're going to start from those, or create raw ones for yourself. They are created as HTML files that kind of has this flavor of embedded JavaScript in it. If you're familiar with like ASP.NET Razor or something similar, it's that markup based. Hey, I've got a block of code inside my HTML here that I want to run. There are 2 types of templates. One is the control and one is the item. You can think of the control as the outer container of whatever it is you're going to render. So a lot of times maybe you want to say, hey, I'm returning 10 items or however many items are coming back. I'm going to put it in the table or a list. I need to have some HTML structure, like the table tag or an unordered list or something to contain it. And then the item display template is called for every iteration of your search results. So it's the rows that are being returned and rendered. And your control template basically will loop over your search results and call your item display template. The managed property mapping in the header is the one that always trips people up. If you don't call it properties, they are not available in your search results. Because the search engine will use that header in your file to request that those properties be returned, because otherwise it's going to return as little data as it needs to satisfy your request for efficiency reasons. 2 pro tips here. One is almost always your master page gallery will have both check-in, check-out, and publishing enabled. Not always, but almost always. And I cannot tell you the number of times that I have deployed something there, whether it's a JavaScript file or an item display template or even just an image that's going to be served up, and either forgot to check it in or forgot to publish it, and I send it off to somebody else to review it, and it doesn't work. And I'm like, I do the anti-face palm, and go and check in and publish my work. So remember to do that. The other thing is, yes, both developer tools, your web developer, are still handy for being able to inspect these objects and come back. You can set a breakpoint inside of your item or control display template, and there is a global CTX object that is the context for your search result that has all sorts of useful information beyond just the results that are coming back from the search, which is probably what you want most. But I mean, there's things in there like what was the actual query that was executed, which I'll show you how we use that in just a little bit. Here's some additional resources. I will post these slides on SlideShare. So if you follow me on social media, you'll be able to go to this end on YouTube, like and subscribe. I don't know if that applies to SlideShare, but you guys can find the analogy there. But these are great ways to kind of get started with some of this. The first one up there, it's a little bit mislabeled. It's an introduction to cross-site publishing. What it really is talking about is like 12 pages on the Microsoft Docs site on how to set up, configure, and use search inside of SharePoint. The second one, I don't know if you guys know Elio Struve, but he's been in the SharePoint community for a very long time, way smarter than I am. And so I will refer you to his blog for some display template tips and tricks. It's a little dated, like I said, different time moving away from that. And then the last one also still is just Microsoft's official guidance on how to use display templates, which is a little funny for me because I remember sitting at, I think it was like SPC 11, maybe 12, and they were showing a preview of SharePoint 2013 in the keynote. And they had a guy come on stage that was using Dreamweaver, and he basically opened the master page gallery directly to like, look at this, you can now map a drive directly to these SharePoint folders. And I'm like, I'll always be able to do this. But anyway, good stuff. So, to finish off, we're going to get the Lord of the Rings reference here. That instead of, not simply walking into Mordor, one simply does not end the PowerPoint slides without answering questions. Does anyone have any questions before I kind of move on to the demos? Anybody online? Doesn't look like it. So we'll drop out of that. And I have a backup slide, and this isn't working, but we will hope that it is all working. I'm going to get rid of all of these. Set some tabs. Go back to the web homepage. Like I said, you are more than welcome to follow along through this. I actually need to get out my phone at this point and open my OneNote notes so I can stay on task with what I kind of plan to show you. So feel free to navigate there while I'm taking my time here. All right. So first thing I wanted to show is we've got search features on a lot of places on our website. So basically everything from the logo and the blue bar up stays consistent across whatever page you're on. Everything below that, changes relative to what's on the page. So that is the reason why we have two search boxes so close together, rather than removed from the home page. It's there. And then again, if you scroll to the very bottom, you'll notice that we've got some funky HTML rendering I've got to fix, but what are you looking for today? We've got another search box. So search is clearly very important to us today. And I'm going to go ahead and do a search. And I'm going to look for data sharing. And you'll notice I get some results back. There's a couple things I want to point out here really quick. So the first one is we get icons for what type of resource this is. But the first one is a checkbox. Anybody know what file type of checkbox is? I guess we'll do check on the checkbox. It's not a file type. That's saying, hey, I am a promoted search result. Remember I was talking about promoted search results? And you can use those to surface what's important. I very specifically chose to search for data sharing because that is one of those promoted search results that is very important to people that interact with WEC, because a lot of what we do is sharing of data. They share data with us, we act as a clearinghouse, we share it with others. So we actually have an information sharing policy on how we will interact with that data. As you can see, besides the fact that the promoter one will take over in the sort order. But if I was searching for data sharing, I'm getting meeting minutes, I'm getting this networking responsibilities, this other committee document. There's a lot of stuff in here that probably is not what I'm actually looking for when I'm looking for data sharing. So this is a great example of saying, hey, data and sharing are pretty common words. Let's have a result that comes back with some of the searches for data sharing that gives them what they are probably really truly looking for. The other thing I wanted to point out is how many of you use refiners when you're searching for something? No, you don't answer it once. In fact, don't answer it all. I want you to think about a different situation. You're on Amazon.com, and I don't know if you've ever noticed, but Amazon also has refiners on the left. How many people have used refiners on Amazon.com when they're searching? Yeah, I bet every hand goes up, right? How many of you use refiners in SharePoint? Now you can answer that question. A few. Well, we're all SharePoint fans here, so of course we do, right? But refiners are a really powerful way that I can say, you know what, maybe that promoter result is right, maybe it's not, you know, I want to look for charters. I can click on charters, and I can say, by this JSIS committee, and I only want PDFs. And I can use those to kind of refine those search results down to where I'm only getting that one piece of information. So let's edit the page and actually look at what this looks like after I clear out my URL so I'm not carrying all that baggage with me when I cut it. Get help. So I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to move this to the page. I'm not actually going to check any stages. We're not going to modify our website live. I know you guys are hoping I put something embarrassing out there or breaking or something horrible, but that's not what production's for. It's for demoing in the user group. Right? So the first thing is we've got this search box here. That is a web part you put on your page and you say, hey, I'm going to be searching stuff. I want to provide my end users an input box where they can type in their search queries. Right? The search results web part right below it will actually show that one. Still need to edit web part. We'll see the web part pane show up on the right. There's a couple of things that are a little bit boring here, but you'll notice display templates. This is where I can actually pick that control or that item. Those words are kind of there. Control, display templates, and result type for item. Those are those display templates that I was mentioning before you can configure. SharePoint is actually smart enough that you can associate them with specific types. So you can say, hey, I'm going to create an item display template only for PDFs. I'm going to create one that's only for Word documents and get really crazy, and SharePoint can actually say, yes, use the right template for the document type, which is what this use result type rules is, but we really just have one that we created for all web documents. The other thing I want to show you is change query. If I go into the details here, there's a couple of things that are worth highlighting that we've talked about. One is the selected query. So our result source, I mentioned there's a bunch of result sources. You can see that I created a couple of different result sources that don't say local something. Trying to play around with them and see if they made sense for us. You know, beyond experimenting with them and whatever else, we ended up not using them. I probably should delete them, but that's for another day in a webinar that's not being recorded and will later be published. You can see down here this query text box. It's got those curly braces around the search box query. The search box query basically was configured to send whatever you type there to this web part. Okay, there's a configuration element, you pick which web part it's going to talk to. And search box query is basically just a generic term that pulls whatever you put in your URL. So if you look at the URL for this page, it's got k equals data % sharing. That parameter k, whatever its value is, gets put into the search box query right here. It gets replaced. So in this case, I can just replace it with data sharing and make everyone always search for data sharing. So that's not going to be what they want. Right? You want to be able to search for whatever they're looking for. If you look at the Microsoft Docs, there's a bunch of different things you can add in there. I will show you some other queries where we scope their queries to search certain things first. And so you can restrict naturally what they're doing. For the main site search, we want to be able to search everything. That's why that's that way. The refiners, I find personally these don't work super well on the query itself. If you're going to use refiners, put the refiner web part on the page. Sorting, sometimes you have a need to return them sorted in a different way. You can choose to do that. One of the things that might come back to bite you is a lot of the default control templates also have a sort ordering associated with them. That will override whatever you set in here. So once again, I'd say don't set sorting here because it will eventually be overridden by someone, and then someone somewhere else will get mad and bad things happen. Let the UI drive it. Under the settings, this is the one that is really important, that last one, to remove duplicates. I mentioned SharePoint's really aggressive at detecting duplicates. So you'll notice, here we changed it from remove duplicates to don't remove duplicates. Give me back everything. And then the last one, test, you can actually just run it. So this one, it's not going to run anything because I didn't actually do a query, but that's how you can see that. Other than saving any changes I may have inadvertently made, I'm going to cancel. We're going to come over here to the refinement web part. Edit it. Then if we look here, there's a button, choose refiners. So you'll notice my refinement target is the search result web part. Then if I choose refiners, it pops up a dialog, not too different from what we were looking at before, just with one area that's saying, hey, there are all of these managed properties that are available for you. See how some of them have the automatic OWS, EHCS, weird things. Most of them we actually went and created our own managed properties that had friendly names so people could use them without having to define what they might actually be. But you can choose which refiners you want to have, so you can see that you have content type, owner group, a bunch of things. But if you notice on the left here, it says content space type. And up here, when I select the refiner, is SP content type, all slided together. So how did I do that? There's actually a setting here. I scroll down, I can give it a different name. Leave. So right here, display name, content type. So you can just, the fine folks at Microsoft realized, hey, our auto-generated names might not be the most recognizable. Let's let people work with what's going to be familiar to them. Any questions so far? All right, we'll keep rocking and rolling here. We're going to discard our page checkout. Yes, we're good. One last thing I wanted to show you guys. How many people here use Office Online Server / backend? It's called Office Web Apps. It's fantastic. Anyone here not know what that is? All right, we're going to show you. You ready to see the magic here?
Yeah.
I come over here and I hover, and look what pops up off to the side of my document. It's a preview, actually opening up that Word document and rendering it in my browser. Okay? That is through the magic of Office Online Server. I can actually scroll through it and see the whole document. I can open it. Depending upon your licensing and how it's configured, you may be able to open that and edit it inside of your browser. So pretty handy, like if you've used, for say, OneDrive or something similar, it's the same server Microsoft uses. They just package it up, put it in a box, and say, hey, you can use this for your online thing. It will never be as good as our cloud version, just so you know. But yeah, so that is the Office Online Server.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you have a tool that can back up your taxonomy? Because I've been in situations where that's gotten messed up or broken or deleted. And you can delete it, and you have users who are creating it, but once they delete the taxonomy, man, is it a beast to recover.
So one of the reasons that's so important is a lot of times your taxonomy, the association between whatever your tag is in your taxonomy, especially if it's in your managed metadata, it's actually stored as a 128-bit unique number. Universally unique identifier, global unique identifier. And so even if they recreate the same names, it may not map. It probably won't map. So how do you back that up? There's a couple of different ways. One is obviously your information architecture as far as defining your site columns and your content types. I would highly recommend you either, 2013 era days, use a feature to deploy those, have them actually built in something like Visual Studio and wrap it up inside of a solution that you can use to deploy and activate. The other thing you can do is with more modern sites, the PNP engine can also back all of those up and then restore them. That will be clean. For things like your managed metadata return store, you can do two things. One is those are stored in a SQL database, so you can have backups and restore them and run them as you would any other backup. There are also some PowerShell commands. I don't remember who wrote them. It's not Microsoft directly, but they will allow you to export your term store to XML and then import it back with those same identifiers and everything else. The only way I found to do that. And I'm trying to remember the specifics of why I had to do that once, but it was related to an upgrade. Like there was something, either we forgot to bring the term store or something, and I couldn't just pick up the old one and move it. So I had to export the old one and then import it that way to the new one. Does that kind of cover all the bases you were thinking about? Did I miss something?
Yeah, there's just one other thing too. Whenever I try to do document management, what I found is it's not really an IT problem, it's a business problem in organizing it. So those taxonomies, how do you create those taxonomies and how do you push back to your end users and say, look guys, I can make this as smart as we think, but at the end of the day, unless you guys come up with the taxonomies and enforce those, that's the conversation that I find is much harder to recognize that you're kind of being beat up and you're being blamed. Why is the search not working? Well, hey, have we ever organized as a business what these terms are and how the structure really should be and where it should be going forward? And I guess when you kind of find yourself in that position when there are people who are saying, "Oh, forget it, it's just SharePoint's problem," how would you respond there? And how do you try to make that a real effort on this when that's the real response that you get most of the time? Or at least I have. So I get that response and then I go back and say, okay, I can technically go around it. But ultimately, that's not the right solution. The right solution is to have them get their business process right.
Right, because you may not even know, like, how do you classify a document? What do you do to describe it, right? You may not even know. You may not be close to the business.
Yeah.
So let's open it up to the room. Has anyone encountered this and had a successful failure story to commiserate with? Here we go.
Well, so one of the things like, people may not realize, but SharePoint is indexing not just the name of the file, the metadata, but it's actually indexing the content of the file.
Right.
And I know there's a limitation on the size that it indexes, like a certain amount of meg or something that it indexes on that document. But so one of the things I did was we had a lot of PDFs that were not searchable PDFs. And so SharePoint wasn't able to see inside those documents because they're not searchable. So you can rely on your users to, when they create PDFs, to put that metadata in there. Good luck. They're not going to do it. So I have a third-party application, which I run, somewhat infrequently, but I do run. It scours the entire shared drive where all our documents and stuff are. And if it finds any PDFs that are not searchable PDFs, it goes through and makes a new copy of that PDF. And it indexes that PDF searchable. So that when you go across SharePoint and searching, it finds a PDF, it's actually searching the content. But I found it rely on users and executives especially to aim.
Do what?
To like help with your indexing.
Yeah.
And part of our challenge is we made some of our deals required. And that's
That's a nightmare too.
that's a different way.
Yeah.
Right? We can't say no, we have to give it a name. It has to have an actual URL, so it has to have a name, right? There's some bare minimum we're asking for. One thing that we've done a number of trainings with people that upload to our website. Thankfully, it's not me. There are thousands of documents out there, and we do regular trainings with them. And I like to remind them it's a little cheeky, but I'm kind of a funny guy, I guess. that, think about when you're using your favorite search engine and those results that are up on the top, even more so nowadays, they're sponsored, so they're paid placement. But the ones that are just naturally at the top, they have usually hired someone out to do some SEO work, search engine optimization. And so they're actually paying money to have things, tagged appropriately such that the different search engines can index it properly and find it. And I'm like, but we're not really paying people to do that, are we? And then I pause for a minute and I'm like, exactly, like, no, wait, actually, yes, you are being paid to do this right. So please do it right. I get mixed responses on that, to be honest. Like, some people see the humor, they also see the value in it. Other people like, oh, what a jerk. Here. So, what works with one person may not work well with others. Patience. One of the things we did when we were defining our information architecture is we basically took all of the words that were content types, right columns, enterprise keywords, and we basically put them in a big word jumble, saying, hey, we know we have the right words here. We just don't know if they should be a content type or a site column or enterprise keywords. Help us know. Help us kind of straighten this puzzle out, figure out what's grouped together, what makes sense, where can we line these things up. And that was actually a really helpful way of talking to the business. And a couple things happened. One, they would never agree all on exactly the same way it should be architected, but they would carve off their piece of the puzzle that made sense to them. And we could say, okay, this is good over here, we can work with that. This is good over here, we can work with that. This is good over here, we can work with that. Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. We forgot to include this word. Include it in our architecture to make sure it's all working right. Yeah.
Outside that, but another thing that I did is went through all the site result pages, the search result pages, the templates, and modified behind the scenes. And that, by default out of the box, it just makes your search words that it hits black and bold.
Right.
But I made it highlighted yellow.
Right.
Highlighter.
It's a little hard to see that here, but you can see
Well, it's even hard to see, if you're on a different device and stuff. So
right.
Highlighting, there's some
making it stand
there's
out.
some docs to be able to do that, and that really helps a lot because they can see what words were actually.
Right.
There's one other tool, I don't know if it works with the 2013, but at least on the Office 365 side, you go to Bing and you sign in as your organization. It will give you a couple add-ins for your browsers that will allow you to quickly create really good content and add it to your searches. And so you can remove stuff and you can move around from this search to Bing. So if I was to go out to Bing and search, it will say, do you want to search your company's data? And then it will give me the filters and stuff. But it will also give you a few tools that will really help you
to organize it. See, I never taken it that far. I've seen the search company stuff. That's about right.
Yeah, there's a plugin that you can actually make your search one of the searches in the browser.
Right.
Just click on it. I had a registry entry that I would force online, so put it in the browser. And so then we'll drop down whether or not you're searching Bing or searching Google. One of those would be the company. Or yeah, that was
cool. We good to keep moving on?
good stuff.
Make sure there's nothing else I wanted to highlight here. I don't think there is. So let's go back here. And I'm actually going to forward our friend from this slightly more friendly developer tools.
Greg, what version of SharePoint is that you're using there?
The one I'm showing is 2013. So I want to do a new incognito window.
Did you say earlier, are you using Teams with that?
We don't really use Teams with our on-premises extranet. We do use Teams internally for other things, but not our extranet.
And internally, are you using 2013?
Internally, we're on 2016, about to upgrade to 20.
But all on time. Okay.
You're using Teams with that.
Correct.
Are you using Exchange on-prem then?
We are actually Exchange Online.
Exchange online, connect, okay.
We're in a weird position of, we're not a government entity, but we are a regulator. And so they get really sensitive about certain types of data. And so email has never been considered secure. And so it was reasonably okay for us to move that to the cloud. But our intranet and our file shares, yeah, people are not okay with us moving that yet. Give us some time. I'm confident we'll get there, but yeah, that's maybe more information than you were looking for, but.
No, it's good because we're the opposite. We're SharePoint online, Exchange on-prem.
Oh.
And it's causing problems. I try
I was
to
gonna
power
say, man.
flow and other stuff. I'm like, no.
Exactly. Like, if I was gonna go one way or the other, Exchange Online all the way there, but, yeah.
I keep going, but we'll see.
Yeah. I think we'll all eventually end up there, you know, whether or not Microsoft forces it upon us. Let's see, well, I was going to show you an interesting bug I've encountered. But I'm going to actually have to render this page twice. Show it. View, frame source. I'm going to clean up the URL a little bit here. Bear with me, it's worth it, I promise. Oh, what are they? Oh, I didn't clean everything up enough. Oh, somehow that got really close. Hold on, let me back up. Do this again. View frame source. That again. Clear this up in front of the URL so we can adjust that page. And then you'll notice down here at the bottom, there's a search result bar. This is the media that earlier today, by the way, if you're at all curious. You know, these are the documents that are associated with that media with that. I'm going to bring up my developer tools here. We're going to go to our sources. We're getting way down in the weeds, so if you're not a dev, feel free to tune out. Page. We'll do that right here. Scroll down to a bunch of HTML gobbledygook that only Greg can love. You'll notice I created a function right here, fix that search website. What a great name, right? I'm going to set a breakpoint in here. Refresh the page. And here's what happens. You know, so hit this breakpoint. But if I come back over here to the web page and I scroll down, this web part broke. So this is where Mike, you can start laughing at me because we had a conversation about this. But there was a security patch that Microsoft pushed out that broke this search web part. It's not going to get fixed. 2013 is now unsupported. And so pushing on Microsoft to fix it, they're like, you just got to upgrade. Tough luck. And I'm like, well, why does it work on, you know, one page and then not another? Because different pages on our site, the exact same query, exact same web part, everything works fine. So I'm like, clearly there's something going on here, guys. Like, no support for you, go away. So enterprise developer says, okay, I can deal with this. Back to my dev tools. I'm gonna just hit play here. We're gonna skip over my breakpoint. And you'll notice suddenly these documents all appeared, right? So what did Greg do? Greg said, fine. I know search still works. I know search still works for anonymous users. This only occurs if you're not logged into our site. Either way, if you're logged in, fine. Which, you know, just even better. Try to debug. But basically what happens is the JavaScript there, the text of that web part failed and broke on the page, it just reissues the query using a different API endpoint, which still works. Doesn't have the issues the other one does, and it replaces that web part with the good web part data. So, you know, I don't blame Microsoft. I don't want them leaving some sort of exploitable vulnerability on our site. There is an option they've since released. It took them about 3 to 6 months to like disclose everything that's going on in this. It's very near and dear to my heart because I deal with it all the time. But they actually have a setting you can set on your SharePoint web application. So you have to go through PowerShell. It's only applicable to on-premises. and you can actually disable this behavior. So if you're ever seeing any of this behavior, let me know. I'm happy to give you all the information and more if you ever want on it. But yeah, so there's another example of search. And the way that this search works is basically up there in the URL ID 14027, it basically says, hey, grab that number, that document, or that meeting ID, and go search for all the meeting documents that are tagged as being part of meeting 14027. Very good, very good. So close that down. We're coming down the home stretch here. So this one as well.
So, quick question.
Yeah.
You have a document stored and you have SharePoint doing that full index, blowing off the index and re-indexing versus incrementals. How often do you guys do that?
So we have a couple of settings there. One is we have the constant crawl turned on. And so if I was calling for new documents, immediately. And so I actually took those dials and cranked them down as fast as we possibly could. We tested it, and we only have about 10,000-ish documents on our website, and maybe another 100 or so pages. So relatively small amount of content is being indexed. And we found that those settings actually work just fine for us. The default settings, I think, were like 15 minutes or something. Yeah. And our users were getting super annoyed that it would take 15 minutes before we show up on the website.
Oh, you guys did it even further down than that.
Oh, yeah. And ours is at, I don't remember how long did it let you go, but it's like 1 second or something. Like it can't be that fast. It's probably like 60, but it pegs it very, very quickly. But where we have, such a low volume and such a low number of documents, that's worked out really well. We do, I don't remember if we have any incrementals set up right now. I think we just use the continuous crawl. And then we do a full crawl every week, although we don't reset the search index. The only time we've had to rebuild it is early on when we were still building out our architecture, and certain properties will only get populated during a full crawl, especially after an index reset, despite they should be populated at full crawl regardless. And so I actually have some PowerShell saved off to the side somewhere that, grabs the search application, resets the index, or turns on alerts. We don't want people getting notified that, hundreds of new documents show up they were interested in. Resets the index and rebuilds it. So, but we honestly, earlier this year, we changed from web.biz to web.org. I reset the index then to clear out all of the .biz versions that were indexed. It actually ended up picking up both .biz and .org, and so that was really odd, or it was duplicated. So to fix that, just reset the index, clear it all out. But beyond that, I mean, there's probably years between. Yeah, we never really reset it. Good questions, though. Any other questions?
Do you have any experience with the OneDrive and search and mobile? Because I think it's kind of, depending on now the new experience, you have this type of search, but then you also have their instant search. They both have their quirks and they both have their pros and cons. I was just wondering.
Yeah, I haven't really used that in OneDrive, so
okay.
Can't comment. I would imagine it uses the graph behind it, but maybe not.
Yeah.
Do you have, when you use the OneDrive, do you have a problem with users? I'm not sure if they changed it, but at one point when I was trying it out, the searches that were searching across the OneDrive stores, people's personal OneDrives were showing up in the search results. So you'd find like family photos and all kinds of things.
So were they sharing those from their OneDrive?
Well, yeah, I mean, they don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I have way less sympathy if they share them publicly, but I get at the same time, maybe those don't need to be surfaced, right? Maybe they do.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about, for sure, and I think it's usually an admin error, actually, I don't know what we've set up, actually, knows OneDrive folder, there's SharePoint files, so if you run your separation, you're gonna see everything.
You're gonna see it, exactly. So the last thing I want to show, and then I want to make sure we get some time to the Lucidworks guy. Well, actually, two more things, I guess. One is, I gotta find a place here. We have these base cases. These are basically, they call them power flow models, where it's taking all the different substations and transmission lines and load, like this building in your house, and kind of building an electrical model of it. And then they say, hey, we're going to do it, you know, at the height of the heat of the summer when demand is at its very highest. Or, you know, there's these shoulder months that are typically early in the year when it's cooler, you know, but, you know, there's just not as much demand. And so basically what that gives engineers is kind of these two bars, like, hey, you know, here's the peak, worst case, here's the bare minimum, the base, you know, we need to be at, you know, let's run some simulations and see what happens. So there's like 300 of these things here. And so if I scroll down this list, like I may or may not ever find what I'm looking for. SharePoint only lets me show 50 at a time, and I have to change it, and so they don't show up very well. So we added a search there as well. It's not different per se than our main site search, other than the query that's part of this down here is scoped to just those base files that are described. So one of the things that I did,
One of the things that I'd recommend also is putting the page results, you know, you have them down at the bottom. In the web part, you can actually change it so they're
you can show them on the top.
Yeah, scroll all the way down, go to the next page. Scroll
down, go to the next page. Yeah.
I think actually you can put them on both.
You can do both. Certainly if you're building your own template, sky's the limit, right? But one thing I did in building our templates is if you hover over this 362 results, it actually shows you the query that was executed. Remember when I said you can inspect the context and see the query that's being executed? I actually included that there. That one's not particularly interesting. It's just saying, hey, go to the base cases content type or any of its children and return back whatever they put in the search box query. So if we go to somewhere that's a little bit more exciting, you can see something a little more interesting probably. But I added that to pretty much all of our templates. That also kind of gives people a clue when you're uploading files and they don't show up in the right place on the website. I can easily go back to them and say, hey, this is what the query looks like. You can go type in this same query. You can do it yourself. And, you know, does your result show up? No, you probably tagged it. Maybe the search indexing, you haven't grabbed it yet. But you can see there that they've got to tag it the right way. Anyway, so that's been really helpful in helping people understand, you know, that it is 100% search driven. You're not putting a document in the folder. In fact, one thing I haven't shown you guys is where I'm actually storing these files. Because honestly, it's not that interesting. We go to our site contents, we have 3 libraries that are basically the same thing. The only difference is they have different content types. So you can only upload meeting minutes to one library. So if you upload something to the wrong library and you try to pick content type minutes, it doesn't exist. It's a good indicator you're doing something wrong, right? So if we look here inside of administrative, it's one of our larger ones because that's where all the meeting stuff gets dumped. This is where tags go to die. But you can see we have all of these different site columns defined that scroll way off to the side. So when I say everything is search driven, I'm not kidding you. Everything is search driven on our website. I'm a little short on time. Does anyone want to see an example of a display template? We lost our one Java dev, so I'll leave it up to you guys. I'm happy to show it or not. Looks like maybe show it. Show it. Okay, let's look quickly here. All right, we're going to not use that PowerShell. We're going to use the new PowerShell. And the great thing about PowerShell is it's command line, and I love it. That's a little small. Can you guys read that okay still? What I can do is I can actually type net news, whack www.wec.org at SSL. This is the magic. At SSL / catalogs master page. And I can give it my user because that's in a different domain. Enter. Boom, there it is. We can then say, hey, let's open Visual Studio Code to that folder. And sure enough, there's the master page gallery on my server. Eric's impressed, so my job here is done today. And we can expand this stuff out. Find what we're looking for. So I'm going to minimize whack. We're going to scroll up. Here we have display templates, the folder, and there you can see there's a whole bunch of stuff in here, right? So I remember setting that up for a long time. I thought we were in display templates. I'm not wrong. So here we have, see how these are all in control underscore. And then down here we have item stuff. So let's look at one of these. Let's look at. And it should be like item default. I'm probably looking in the wrong folder here. Item document row. So remember how I said there's an HTML file that gets compiled to a JavaScript file? We'll look at both. So here's the HTML, and you can see it is HTML, head, title, body. Here's all these headers I was describing before, the managed property mapping, which is basically just a list of the properties I want to come through. And then this is the escape right here. It says, hey, here's some JavaScript I want to run. Okay? It's kind of funky looking, but that's what it is. Down here we have this kind of inline escaping that happens for JavaScript to run. But if you're familiar with what that looks like, this is not too unapproachable for a web developer. It gets turned into this file, which looks a little bit different, but not terribly different. We would be able to say, oh, hey, this block here looks really familiar to this other block we were just looking at right here, right? And if I jump back again, sorry, I'm jumping around a lot. You can see down here, this is the HTML, and how did it render it? It rendered it basically saying, hey, I've got essentially an array, and I'm building a whole bunch of strings that you can concatenate together and stuff into that variable. And then there's some boilerplate stuff that it has to do. But that's really what a display template looks like. I showed you in the query configuration where you go and pick your display templates. But yeah, pretty straightforward. The out-of-the-box ones, there's, like I said, a bunch of gunk you kind of have to wade through, but they're really good at showing you all the examples. How do I add that on hover to fly out and show the Office Online Server preview for that document? So all of that's encapsulated in this code right here.